I mean, we saw what happened when there was more interconnectivity with communications over the internet. What the internet did for communications, I think Bitcoin and Lightning can do for monetary financial services. So,
to those of you that have tuned into the Nick and Griff Show today, I fucking love you. Well, today is Saturday, March 11th. It is 6:21 a.m. in California Pacific time. I believe it is 8:21 a.m. in Oklahoma. Is that correct, Nick? How are you doing today?
Yep. I'm doing well, man. It's a kind of a dark, gloomy Saturday morning here in beautiful Tulsa. We've got some clouds, and I think we may or may not get some rain, but your boy is growing a small jungle in the front yard, and the yard needs to be mowed. We've had a lot of rain here recently, but I need to get this freaking jungle mowed off of the damn front yard.
You know, that's really something because you are a homeowner, and it's a great thing about being in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is they still have very good real estate prices. But
So let's jump right into the banks, man. You know, Jerome Powell and the boys come out and they say, hey, we're actually probably going to increase our rate hikes. And, you know, I think probably a couple weeks ago, maybe, 3 weeks ago, the Fed was anticipated at a 25 basis point increase. And now they've increased that rate to 50 basis points, which seemed like obviously spun the entire economy into a downward spiral. All the S&P sells off, Bitcoin sells off. Everything is going to get caught up in this, right? Everything's already entangled. So that's pretty wild to see. So yes, Silicon Valley Bank officially liquidating its bank and closing its doors. Which I was reading an article earlier. It says in short, SVB encountered a classic run on the bank. The longer version is a bit more complicated. Several forces colluded to take down the banker.
So two banks crashed. Silvergate Bank, which is a bank that was, I believe, founded in 2011 based on an early Bitcoin investment. The owners, and I'm paraphrasing what I've seen from the people, but the owners got into crypto around the time Ethereum came out. It became more of a crypto bank than just a Bitcoin-based bank. Crypto hasn't done super well. We don't talk about crypto a lot on this podcast, and we're going to continue not to because it sucks. But then there's Silicon Valley Bank, which Jim Cramer told everybody to buy at $320 a share price not that long ago. And I think that's obviously got a much bigger story. Some people are calling it a classic bank run, which I have a hard time believing personally, just because banks don't work that way anymore. What caused bank runs in 1920 was, okay, a newspaper comes out, things are going really bad. You're literally physically watching your neighbor go to the bank and try and get their money out of the bank before you. It's all digital now. I mean, it's all digital. So, and I definitely have seen over the course of the last week documents that say, oh, the bank has this much in cash reserves and this much in like digital cash, like digital money. There is an amount of dollars that is in the money supply that they have ever actually put into circulation, that if you took it to a valid dollar checking station, that the dollar would pass through it, right? Yeah, it's really interesting, Nick. I mean, and obviously that can lead us into the first, I guess, because stable coins and crypto, it just is what it is. People want to talk about stable coins like they're stable, but USDC had a ton of their physical and digital reserves tied up in not Silvergate, but Silicon Valley Bank, which is the 16th largest commercial bank in the United States. And they had a ton of their reserves caught up in it. So who knows? It's currently worth like 88 cents and crashing, and it's a dollar stable coin. So, Godspeed on that one. Bitcoin, do not buy the other ones. Why would you go to a bank when you can get a wallet address, you can store it however you'd like, and nobody can ever mess with your funds? And your funds in the Bitcoin network will always be worth the same. One Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. There's also super exciting things like Jason Lowry. He just published his thesis on Bitcoin. I believe, Nick, what was it called?
Softwar. It's Softwar.
Jason Lowry Softwar. which is a whole different thesis on Bitcoin that Nick and I have definitely talked about on this podcast. It would have just been probably a long time ago when we first started getting into it, talking about just the nature of hash rate and how important it is, or how important it could be. Countries competing with computers and terahashing into the network and trying to secure more of the network than somebody else, get more blocks than somebody else. There's definitely merit to what he's writing, and I think anybody who's willing to participate that much in Bitcoin and try and understand it that much, has a valid point. I haven't read the book, so I think it might be a book that I actually read, or hopefully he has a Ray Dalio YouTube version, because I love those. But just like every person born like probably 1996 and after, just love the videos. Keep the videos rolling. I can 2x those things, and I'm just like cracked. I'm just like watching them. I'm like, whoom, whoom, whoom. But yeah, dude, softwares is probably really interesting. The next thing we need is Bitcoin to just shoot up like 10, 15% in a day just to hurt people's feelings, because that's what Bitcoin does.
I think an interesting thought to this is a thread that Saifedean Ammous put out, and I'm just going to read this thing for everybody. So here you go. Bitcoin mining has no geopolitical significance, and people who think it does simply don't understand how it works. Mining is just a business, and you profit if you do it well and lose if you do it badly. A government gains no geopolitical edge on its enemies by controlling hash rate. If the Bitcoin block size wars taught us anything, it is that miners do not control Bitcoin. They are merely a service provider bound by the node's consensus parameters. They make large capital investments, which they can only recoup by providing blocks that abide by node's rules. Bitcoin is secure because miners are self-interested, not because they are thinking of the national interest. If a government needs to mine Bitcoin itself to secure its own holdings and transactions, Bitcoin's security model is broken and governments have no business being involved in it. Miners who try to censor transactions will just witness their capital depreciate as honest miners collect rewards and transaction fees instead. If a government could censor its opponent's transactions, it would destroy Bitcoin's entire value proposition and render it pointless. Governments gain nothing politically from investing in mining. It's just an investment like growing bananas. As all governments universally screw up all their investments, they're better off staying out of mining and just taxing entrepreneurs taking on the risk. He also quotes an article there with that. Mining Bitcoin, like gold, is rewarded by the market, not dictated by suppliers. If a country's gold miners decided to sell copper and call it gold, they would just destroy their businesses. They would not force the planet to treat copper as gold, no matter how big the country. In the 20th century, Switzerland had the highest amount of gold per capita and was the last country on the gold standard. It mined exactly 0 gold. Very poor countries like Congo mined a lot of gold, and it didn't make them geopolitical or economic powers. That's an interesting thought. It's thus completely ridiculous to treat mining like an issue of national security or to present hash rate as a weapon, defensive or offensive. Bitcoin only works because software gets around these political and nationalist constructs. It's just a market good. The last piece here says Bitcoin only works because it is politically neutral. Governments looking to treat it like a geopolitical asset by mining are just going to burn mountains of Satoshis, learning this lesson the expensive way. Bitcoin doesn't care. TikTok, next block. The network does not care. We always talk about Bitcoin with a little b, Bitcoin with a big B. Bitcoin with a little b being the actual commodity itself, the actual coin that you own, and Bitcoin with a big B being the network. Here we're talking about the network, right? Jason Lowery is talking about the Bitcoin network and how the entire network operates and incentivizes itself and the actors that touch the network to do what the network was set out to do, and that is to operate as a decentralized peer-to-peer money that is not controlled by any one entity or central control. And it's kind of an interesting take, I think, from Jason Lowery because the Bitcoin network doesn't care if the United States comes in and adds a bunch of hash rate to the network. Now, of course, it's going to work as it's supposed to. So when there's a larger amount of energy being expended into the mining process, well, then there's going to be a difficulty adjustment, and it's going to be more difficult for smaller miners to win because there's going to be more competition in the market. Now, does that make the network more secure? Yes, absolutely, it does. But if Russia is using the Bitcoin network to store value, well, then the United States providing a ton of hash power to the network is going to protect Russia's Bitcoin as well. So there's no like direct advantage that the United States gets by protecting the Bitcoin network via some type of hash force that I think that Jason Lowery refers to it as. But it does protect the network. So, hey, if they want to protect the network, then cool, just protects my Bitcoin and your Bitcoin better.
So this is a system that I think will see a lot of different types of adoption over time, much like gold. Like there's been a lot of different time periods in gold, obviously, and then they were like, cool, we figured out how a way not to use gold. I think Bitcoin is like a super version of any money that has ever existed. And I think the mining aspect of it is just super interesting because I think that part is more discussable. I think that there's a history of commodities, like Bitcoin is a commodity, gold's a commodity, money is a commodity. And throughout history, commodities, I mean, people have gone to war for commodities. Isn't oil a commodity? But at the end of the day, people are going to war for it. And so if we if we are all still participating in this nation state mental framework where, when Nick has a kid, he tells his kid to, love America and, we do the 4th of July and we love our country and blah, blah, blah. Until that's like not what people do in the entire world, it's kind of interesting how Bitcoin will play out, right? Because Bitcoin is apolitical to the whole world. Bitcoin does not care what country you are in. It doesn't care where you are. It just cares if you're a miner, you're participating, and if you're somebody that just holds it, as long as you have 12 words, that money is yours.
I think you're posing some interesting conversation topics, and that is, we currently operate in a world where we do have countries, right? There's different countries all over the world. There's different structures, there's different hierarchies, there's different balances of power, all these different things. But then also something that I think that we don't talk about a ton, we've definitely talked about several times on the podcast, but is the idea that not everybody believes the same things. Not everybody has the same beliefs. And I think whenever you start talking about morality and ethics, I think it's pretty easy to agree on some of the basic things, maybe some of the extremely basic things. But man, once you start thinking about, oh, is this moral? Is this thing moral? Well, then you got to start thinking, okay, well, what do I believe? Right. And as Americans, you and I, Griff, we are, more apt to believe this thing versus somebody in, say, China, communist China, or in Russia. There's just different belief systems. And I think that really introduces an extremely complex portion of this, and something that I think is really interesting because, like you're saying, Bitcoin is neutral. It's neutral politically and allows anybody, no matter what they believe, to hold this money, and it stores value. And it operates as an instantaneous medium of exchange anywhere around the world with final settlement, right? It's a bearer asset. Final settlement happens 10 minutes like that anywhere in the world, and even quicker if you're using, the Lightning Network or whatever. I mean, that's pretty interesting. But
Nick wanted to talk about the United States and some of the things that the United States does as a country and how we operate as a people or a government.
Yeah, so let's just first start off with a definition and a little bit of information about the Uniform Commercial Code. This is referred to in this bill that we're going to talk about as UCC, but it's the Uniform Commercial Code, and it is a comprehensive set of laws governing all commercial transactions in the United States. Now, it's important to note that this is not federal law, but is uniformly adopted on a state level, right? So uniformity of law is essential in this area for the interstate transaction of business. So essentially what these uniform commercial codes are supposed to be is a set of laws, right? Call it a protocol. It's a protocol that all the states are going to decide to follow so that they can have commerce happening amongst themselves and within different states. Okay, so I think we can agree on that. Hey, we're just going to say that this is our protocol, and if you don't follow this, then we're not going to do business with you. Okay, that makes sense. That makes it easier. It makes the network bigger. It allows people to spend money in more places. Okay, but this was introduced in South Dakota just recently, and it's an act to amend provisions of the Uniform Commercial Code. So they're wanting to make some revisions to this, and it starts off with a bunch of different definitions, kind of clarifying language that they're using here. Bank means a person engaged in the business of banking and includes a savings bank, savings and loan association, credit loans, and trust companies. So it's just going to go through and kind of define all these different things here. But I'm going to scroll down here to part 24, I think it was, money. Okay, so what is underlined here is what they're proposing to change. So let's just read the whole thing. It says, money means a medium of exchange that is currently authorized or adopted by a domestic or foreign government. Okay. I don't know that I agree with that definition right out of the gates, because money is a medium of exchange plus a store of value. So I would say that this is probably actually currency as a medium of exchange, but let's continue. The term includes a monetary unit of account established by an intergovernmental organization or by agreement between two or more countries. So that last piece in that sentence, I think, is very important, because it says not just established by an intergovernmental organization, it says also by agreement between two or more countries. So two or more countries can get together and say, hey, we decide we're going to use this for money, and they can do that, right? And then this is the big piece that there's been a lot of controversy over here, is this last part. The term does not, so money does not include an electronic record that is a medium of exchange, recorded and transferable in a system that existed and operated before it was authorized or adopted by the government. That's the big hang up here in some of this language. Now, I haven't read this whole thing, but this is saying that, let me just read this again. I'm going to try to simplify this. Money does not include an electronic record that is used as a medium of exchange and is transferable, right? It operates in a system that existed and or operated before it was authorized and adopted by a government. So basically Bitcoin, they're saying Bitcoin cannot be money because it existed before it was adopted by the government and operated before it was adopted by the government. And it's an electronic record. It's an electronic decentralized ledger.
It is against our Constitution to ban Bitcoin, and also for the government to just decide.
So this is the tweet from Christy Nolan, that is the governor for South Dakota. She says this bill adopts a definition of money to specifically exclude crypto like Bitcoin. I just hate that crypto has to be involved in this, because it just really muddies the waters. But she's saying, it's specifically trying to exclude Bitcoin, and it opens the door to the risk that the federal government could adopt a central bank digital currency. Absolutely. And then she says South Dakota will always stand for economic freedom. I love that. So here's another piece that I think was interesting to read. So this was the letter that she had put out as to why she was vetoing this language. So I'm going to read this sucker too, because I thought it was pretty good. It says, "Dear Mr. Speaker and members of the House, I respectfully return to you Bill 1193 with my veto. House Bill 1193 is an act to amend provisions of the Uniform Commercial Code known as the UCC. House Bill 1193 adopts a definition of money to specifically exclude cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, as well as other digital assets. At the same time, these UCC revisions include central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, as money. These developments concern me for several reasons. First, by expressly excluding cryptocurrencies as money, it would become more difficult to use cryptocurrencies." I think that this is like a dumb statement, because it's like, yeah, no shit. By needlessly limiting this freedom, House Bill 1193 would put South Dakota citizens at a business disadvantage. Second, by defining money in this proposed way, House Bill 1193 opens the door to the risk that the federal government could more easily adopt a CBDC, which then may become the only viable digital currency. Not true. Because if the government does adopt a central bank digital currency, Bitcoin's still going to be operating. Bitcoin is still going to be cranking out blocks.
Yeah,
At this moment
yeah.
in time, such a government-backed electronic currency has not been created. It would be imprudent to create regulations governing something that does not yet exist. More importantly, South Dakota should not open the door to a potential future outreach by the federal government. And then it finishes with this. The UCC provides uniform model provisions for commercial and banking law. The Uniform Law Commission, which drafts the UCC, suggests changes and modernizations to the code, which states then adopt as those states see fit. There are some who argue we must rush to adopt these provisions. To the contrary, the UCC's first iteration took 20 years to be adopted by each state. There is no reason South Dakota must adopt the changes made by House Bill 1193 under this purported deadline. The uniform provisions may adjust as needed after the other states experiment with this legislation. The Uniform Law Commission drafts these things that they believe that should be in there, and then they basically send it out to the states and say, hey, here's new legislation, here's change in this Uniform Commercial Code, adopt this, please, right? And then each state is going to say, I don't like this piece, just like South Dakota. We don't like this new definition of money that you're trying to push because they feel that there's risk in that, and I agree with them. And then other states are going to say, yeah, this is great. California is going to be like, yeah, govern me harder, daddy. We'll sign this sucker right now. So that's what's going to happen on the state level with this potential change to the Uniform Commercial Code.
So how there is a change on the Bitcoin network is that nodes need to signal for a change in the code, meaning that nodes need to quite literally start running an extra piece of code or letters and numbers, you know what I'm saying, to actually run. And 90% of these node validators need to be signaling at the same time for the change to pretty much be accepted. It's technically a soft fork, but at the same time, 90%, all you got to do is add a little change to the code and everything keeps churning. That's it. What more do you need? Just don't mess with other people's money. I feel like that's the theme I want to leave off with today, Nick. Just don't mess with other people's money. We start flooding a lot of capital into, and a lot of businesses start being created within the Bitcoin ethos. It doesn't give more power to the government, and who knows if they know that or not. And if you're South Dakota or Nebraska, whoever said that you were trying to usurp more power, maybe they're not. Maybe they're trying to give power back to the people. I don't know. But the theme I'm going to leave with today is just don't mess with other people's money,
Man, as we're moving more and more into an uncertain world where interest rates are going even higher than expected at one point a few weeks back, I think that we're going to see, liquidations amongst all assets. We're going to see it in Bitcoin. We're going to see it in stocks and bonds. We're going to see it in real estate. Everything is going to start selling off because people in this time, if they're smart, want to be liquid in cash so that they don't lose their ass, right? And so everything's going to be liquidating. I think that that's going to happen over a decent period of time. Does that mean that Bitcoin continues to just go down and go down and go down? I don't know necessarily, but I think in a time like this where Bitcoin is viewed by most people as a risk-on speculative type asset, I would think that all the weak hands out there are going to be probably losing their grip here within the next, 6 months or whatever it is. I think in a time like this, I would say you should be being smart financially. Don't spend more than you make. Don't have a bunch of credit card debt. Pay down your credit card debt. If you've got other low interest debts, make sure that you've got enough cash flow to pay for those things. And I would be liquid in cash and I would be liquid in Bitcoin. And that's what I'm doing. And you got to prioritize the right things. Of course, everybody's got their own personal financial plan. Finances are personal. So if you guys are not watching us, we do have video. It's on Spotify and on YouTube. Come check out the YouTube channel. It seems like you guys are liking the YouTube channel. Let's see. Come hit us on Twitter. Right down here, it's at Nick and Griff Show. come see us on Twitter. If you're interested in getting some Satoshi Saturdays merch that would match this logo right up here, go to Satoshi Shop. Links down in the description. Griff, I'm excited to hop on with you again next week, and I think maybe we'll jump back into Bitcoin and exponential freedom and talk about why was gold money. We're going to talk about fungibility, divisibility, portability, some of those things. So that'll be fun next week.
I can't wait for money class next week. I'll be here, ready to go.
Peace.